everybody and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new here. Hi, I'm Gina, and on this channel I talk all things sewing and dressmaking. Welcome to today's video and welcome to my favourite 8 patterns of all time. This was really difficult to select. There are loads of patterns that I've sewn that I really love, but these 8 are ones that I would reach for time and time again. I would recommend to people because I really enjoyed sewing them as well, and garments that I wear a lot too, because I think that's really important when you're putting all the time and energy and love into making something yourself. You want to make sure you're getting the wear out of it. Some of them are garments that I made years ago and continue to wear now, and then some of them are more recent makes as well. I'll pop links for all of the patterns down in the description box below, and I'll be sharing lots of inspiration pictures up here of the ones that I've made too. So let's get into it. This is in no particular order because it was really difficult to rank these because I love them all for different reasons and they're all quite different patterns as well. So it was difficult to pick an all-time favourite. I'm going to start off with a pattern that I made very recently and fell absolutely head over heels in love with. So much so I started planning on making another one immediately, and it's going to be my Christmas Day dress this year. It's this pattern. This is Nome 2016, and I wish I'd made this sooner. It's viral for a reason. It is beautiful. I made view A, which is the maxi length with the shorter sleeves. This pattern has so many incredible design details. It has these dramatic puff sleeves, it's got a curved waistline as well, and then it's got this kind of asymmetric high-low tiered skirt with these huge pockets. It's such a trendy, gorgeous design, and it's slightly loose fitting, but it's not oversized, so it's still really lovely to wear. It fits nicely on the body, and it was a dream to sew. The written instructions for this pattern are really good. I put it together in a few days. I do have a video for the full sew along if you want to watch. And there is a full in-depth video tutorial made by the designer, Nikki Brooks, if you prefer video sew-alongs over written instructions. The thing I love about this pattern the most is the potential to make it so many different ways. I think because of the design of this, you can make it really casual or you can make it really fancy. I have seen this in jacquards, I've seen it in denims, I've seen it in linens, I've seen it in Liberty cottons, just so many different fabrics, and it looks so different each time. It's really versatile. It's so comfortable to wear as well. It's a great everyday staple. I could not recommend this one enough. My only negative point about this pattern is I wish I made this sooner. This next pattern would be in my top 3 if I had one. I absolutely love this dress pattern. I made it for the first time several years ago, and every time I want to make something super special that makes me feel amazing, I think of this pattern. It is the Dream Frock by Lydia Naomi. It's a Milkmaid style dress. I know this isn't going to be everybody's cup of tea because of the design, but it's really girly. The fit of it's amazing, and every time I put it on, I just feel so feminine and pretty. The first one I made in a viscose challis fabric maybe 3 years ago now, and it's falling apart. It's too big for me, but I still reach for it all the time because that dress is just sensational. I wanted something special to make for my 30th birthday this year, so I chose to make this pattern in a Liberty print fabric, and I hacked it ever so slightly to have straps and a sheared back and a Basque waist too, to be a little bit more on trend, and that dress is one of my favourite things I've ever made. Lydia has a video tutorial for this pattern, so it's really easy to sew, and there's 2 different versions of it. There's one that's really in depth that has full boning and is really thoroughly constructed, and then there's another one which is a little bit more laid back that's just interfaced, and she shows you several hacks as to how to shear the back, put an elastic panel if you want to, change the sleeves. The opportunities are endless with this pattern, and this design for me is just so timeless, and I will love this pattern and rave about this pattern forever and a day. The next pattern I wasn't sure whether or not to include because I've only actually made this once. However, the version that I've made, I wear every single time I get an opportunity, and this pattern is such a classic. It's kind of one you want to get just for the history of the design. It is the DVF V2000 wrap dress. This is a reissue of the classic 1970s wrap pattern, and it's sensational. The fit of mine is so good. It's actually a knit pattern. You can make it in wovens as well, this design, but I went for the knit. I used a lightweight leopard viscose. It's got the original pointy cuffs. It's got this really dramatic pointed high fashion collar as well, but it's just such a classic shape. Originally when I made this pattern, I wasn't sure whether I was going to love this silhouette on me because I feel like it's quite a grown-up design, which I'm 30 years old, but I normally dress quite girly and quite laid back. So for me, I felt like it was quite a different direction in terms of style, but I take back everything I said because when I made this, I fell in love with it so hard. And every time I go out for dinner or something fancy, I reach for that dress because it's amazing. It fits really well, and because it's a jersey, it's so comfortable too. Considering that this pattern is 50 years old, the instructions are really good. The sizing has been updated as well, so that's great for a modern body. I love it. I absolutely love it. I really need to make another one. The next pattern is one that I have made too many times to count. It's a pattern that took the sewing world by storm when it's released, and for very good reason. It's the Sicily slip dress by Sewing Maisin. It is this beautiful bias cut cowl neck slip dress in a couple of different lengths, and it has two different neckline views. You have a traditional kind of strappy slip dress, and then the other view has a little bit more coverage. It comes high up on the back, it has thick shoulder straps, and the cowl neck sits slightly higher as well. I've made both views of this pattern, and I've even combined the two views before to give an asymmetrical neckline. I made it the first time in a jersey fabric, which was so easy to sew. I have a full video tutorial if you want to watch that one. And then I gave it a go in a silk crepe de chine fabric from Fabric Godmother, and I made that for Italy to take away for our wedding, and I got so many compliments on that dress and felt amazing in it. I love the kind of asymmetrical neckline. It makes it feel a little bit more modern and a bit more different, and it's actually surprisingly easy to combine the two and sew it. If you're looking for a really speedy sew, the view with the straps comes together so quickly. I've made this many times last minute because of how speedy it is, and sewing on the bias means that you get this beautiful drape and fit with the fabric every single time. It can be quite scary when you haven't sewn on the bias before, but once you get the hang of it, they're some of the quickest garments to make, and they just hang so beautifully on the body. There is nothing like wearing a bias cut garment. My favourite thing about this pattern is the way that it looks on all kinds of different body types as well. I've seen loads of people sew this dress and it looks amazing on everyone. So if you haven't jumped on the Sicily slip dress bandwagon yet, this is your sign. You need to get involved. Next up is another pattern that I've fallen in love with very recently. You probably will have seen this quite recently on my channel because it was the last thing that I made. It's this pattern here. This is the McCaw's M8150 skirt. And the first time I made this was for my wedding. I used this skirt pattern for two of my bridesmaid dresses, and it's so beautiful. I absolutely fell in love with it when I made the first one. The first one I combined with just a simple sheared bodice for my sister-in-law Emily, and then I combined this view here with the two flounces with a fitted bodice pattern for my daughter, and both of them looked so beautiful and felt so beautiful. It's such a feminine, fun pattern, but it's still quite a timeless design because I've seen skirts like this for years. So having made the bridesmaid dresses and falling in love with that pattern, I knew I had to make more of an everyday version. So I combined it with a wrap dress bodice and made a really beautiful everyday autumn dress. And then I decided I needed to make it again. So I'm currently making a more elevated version in a velvet for the holiday period. I really can't wait to get that one finished. But I think there's so much potential with this skirt pattern. You can make it for every day in simple viscoses. A really lovely leopard print one would be fun. Or you can make it in something a little bit more elevated, like a silk if you want to. If you're looking for a skirt pattern to combine with your favorite bodice to make something a little bit more fancy, I could not recommend this one enough. And it is so easy to sew. It's one of those ones you can make in an afternoon. You're gonna have to hear me out with this next pattern because the envelope does not do this one justice at all. I fell in love with this one because of the line art, not because of the envelope, so please look past it. This is M8209, and do you see what I mean? It's all looking a little bit wild, but the thing that drew me to this pattern when I made it is that beautiful Basque waist design. I had this particular waistline on my wedding dress and fell in love with that silhouette completely. It really makes your waist look tiny. It's beautiful, so flattering. And although this pattern wasn't really inspiring me, I decided to give it a go and make my first version for a wedding at the beginning of the year, and I'm so glad I did, because that is one of my favourite dresses of all time. I made it in a very special Dolce & Gabbana linen. This fits so well. I was really surprised because I do have a body type that I have to adjust patterns a lot, but because of the princess line of this, it came together so quickly and it fit me like a glove. I did hack my first version to have an elasticated panel in the back, which made it really simple. Spoiler alert, I may have also used this pattern for a corset bodice for something wedding related that nobody's seen yet. If you can use your imagination and look past the envelope, it's well worth it. The next pattern on my list I'm actually wearing. I couldn't not mention this one. I know it's pretty casual, but this is the best everyday staple you could ever sew, especially if you live in the UK and it's freezing cold all the time. This is the Alissa Threads Valdivia sweater, and it is one of my favourite patterns of all time because it is so cute. It has these beautiful puff and bishop sleeves, which are huge. It comes in various lengths, so you can have it as a crop, you can have it as a regular jumper length, or you can even have it as a jumper dress as well. There's loads of mix and match options with the sleeves too. You can either just have the bishop sleeve, or you can have the puff sleeve, or like me, you can go full drama, full volume and have both. It's absolutely adorable. My first version that I made in the blue colourway of this fabric is one that I reach for time and time again. I wear it all the time and it always gets compliments too. People will always be asking me to make them one of those jumpers. So this is one that you really need in your handmade wardrobe for sure. It was very difficult to decide on the last pattern to include on this list, but when I'm thinking of patterns that I've made loads of times and that I would recommend very highly, this one immediately springs to mind. It is a bestseller for a reason. This is Vogue V1735, formerly known as V9253, I think. If I've got that wrong, I'll correct myself. I'm not that great with the pattern numbers, but this pattern is a classic. It's a fan favourite. I've seen it made hundreds of times, and the thing I love about this pattern is the way that it looks on every single body type. I love to wear it, but equally my mum loves to wear it as well. It does have a very plunging neckline, but don't be scared. That's very easy to adjust. Two of the ways that I've adjusted it is I've either brought the actual pattern piece up and then sewn it higher up, or the alternative is you just loosen up the pleats at the bust and make it as more of a wrap style. So you can get a little bit more coverage. So don't be scared by that if you're in the I need a bra and a little bit more coverage camp like I am. I've finished two versions of this pattern and I'm in the middle of making another one. The first one I made was in a floral viscose challis, which is beautiful for holidays and summer evenings and things. And then I made another one in a viscose satin fabric that my mum has now stolen, so I haven't seen that since. But that was one of my favourite dresses I've ever made. And then the third version that I'm making is actually in a velvet fabric. I've got a lot of festive events coming up actually after Christmas, so I wanted to make something really nice to wear for dinners and things, and I felt like a velvet would be classic. And I've seen lots of very similar dress styles on Reformation, and they look beautiful. I think I've probably recommended this pattern a few times before, so sorry if you've already seen it on one of my recommendations list, but it is popular and well loved for a reason. It's an oldie but a goldie. And that is the end of my favourite patterns of all time list. Let me know what you think of my picks, and I'd love to know down in the comments what your favourite patterns of all time are as well, so we can compare lists and see which patterns really do stand the test of time. My list actually really surprised me because it's full of older patterns, and it really is proof that the classic patterns are good for a reason, and you can make them loads of different times in loads of different ways and really get your use out of them. And it's proof that you don't have to buy a new pattern every single time you make something for it to feel and look amazing. I'm going to end the video here because I think I've been talking at you long enough, but thank you so much for watching, and if you did enjoy today's video, please do subscribe. I would love to have you back. I'll pop the links for the patterns down in the description box along with any video sew-alongs I have for them. That's everything from me today. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great week, and I will see you in my next one. Take care. Bye.